You don't need to stay at home every single weekend and eat out of Tupperware and lock yourself away from the world if you want to get in good shape. Unless you want to be a bodybuilder and you want to step on stage and get absolutely skinless, you don't need to do that. If you want to get a little bit leaner, potentially get a six-pack, you can absolutely still have a life over the weekend. How do I actually know this? It's because I've lived both ends of the spectrum, where I have competed in bodybuilding in my early 20s, and obviously the goal for that was to get as lean as possible, so I had to restrict a lot of things in my life. I had to cut out a lot of my social life, and that was okay because I was willing to do that in that moment in time. But as I've gotten older and as I've got a partner, I've bought my own house, got my own gym, I wasn't willing to do that anymore, and that's also okay. But also, I've managed to stay in great shape whilst eating out on the weekend, every single weekend for years with my partner Chloe. And that's something I'm never willing to sacrifice again, because eating out on the weekend with my missus is just a chance for us to sort of decompress from work, chill out, forget about your problems in life and just enjoy the food and the social aspect of it. And if you look on the screen here, last year I actually did a 12-week cut where I dropped 20 pounds of body fat, and that was the end result, by still eating out every single weekend, and I had a meal of whatever I wanted and I still lost weight. So you can absolutely have that balance. You just need to make sure you've got a system in place that allows you to facilitate it. I also use a system on my client Aaron on the screen here, and he lost over 30 pounds of body fat in 5 months following this exact system. And every single weekend he went out with his partner, or he got some sort of takeaway, had one meal of whatever he wanted, and he still lost 30 pounds. The reason he was able to do that is he had a structure and system with his training diet during the week. So if you're a guy who's sick of feeling like as soon as he eats one meal off his quote unquote meal plan that he's failed or he can't make progress, this video is for you. In this video, I'm going to show you an exact framework for you to drop body fat, get leaner, get the body that you want so you can feel more confident in your clothes while still having a social life on the weekend. Because this is what I realized, it's never the meal out on the Saturday that's the problem for most guys. That's just a symptom of the problem. So what I mean by that is they have the meal out on the Saturday, but then they feel guilty, feel like they've lost progress, and then they'll carry on eating junk after that, or they won't train. So it's in and around that meal itself that's the problem, not the meal out on the Saturday. And this is how you fix it. I'm gonna show you a method called the weekend meal proof method, where you can still eat out on the weekend and see great results. So step one is you need to make sure you've got structure during the week with your diet. That's the most important thing. And this is what you're going to do. You're going to have 3 to 5 meals. Sorry, handwriting is still like a 5-year-old, per day. The reason you're gonna pick 3 to 5 meals per day is that's gonna be the optimal amount for you to get all your protein in. If you're only having 1 to 2 meals a day, it's not usually enough to get all the protein in that you need. Protein shakes can also be classed as a meal. So for example, you could have 3 solid meals, breakfast, lunch and dinner, but then you can have a protein shake, which will be your 4th meal, okay? The next thing you need to do is make sure each meal has got enough protein in. So if you've got your protein target already set up, what I recommend doing is, let's say you're a 200-pound man, which is roughly about 14 stone. You want to divide your protein target across the amount of meals you've picked to have per day. So let's say you're having 4 meals per day. You want to have roughly 50 grams of protein in each of them meals for you to hit your protein target. The next thing is, you want to make sure your calories and the foods that you're having are minimally processed. What do I mean by minimally processed? So if you go to any supermarket and just pick up, like, let's say a tub of Pringles, or let's say a pizza, the good stuff. If you look at the ingredients, you'll see that there's a ton of ingredients in there. Now, the main issue with ultra processed foods, that's what ultra processed foods are, by the way, when there's loads of different ingredients in there. The problem with these sort of foods are they're usually very high in calories. So it's so easy to eat a little amount but consume so many calories, not feel full, and before you know it, you've eaten a ton of calories, you've gone over your calorie target, and that's where people sort of get stuck. Now, if you are tracking your calories on MyFitnessPal or something like that, you can include some processed foods in there. It's okay to do that, but the caveat is you need to make sure whatever processed foods that you're having, like crisps, like chocolate, whatever it may be, you need to make sure you're tracking it into MyFitnessPal and it's part of your overall daily calorie intake. If you don't want to track your calories, and tracking your calories is too much of a big job for you to do, you want to make sure that the meals that you're having are minimally processed. Because if you're not tracking your calories, it's really hard for people to eat ultra processed foods and stay within the calorie range if they're not tracking it, because most people aren't great at estimating what's in what when it comes to the calories in different foods. So for example, I bet you didn't know this. There's 95 calories, nearly 100 calories in a single hobnob. I'm not sure about you, but I can literally scran half a packet and not even think about it. There's 600 calories gone already. So you can see, if you're just doing that each day from different foods and you're not tracking it, it's so easy for you to gain weight and not realize. But again, if you don't want to track your calories, you need to make sure you've got another method in place. And the method should be making sure all your meals are single ingredient food, minimally processed, healthy. Because by eating them sort of foods, naturally you're going to eat lower calories, because it's actually hard to gain weight when you're just eating healthy food. So what do I mean by single ingredient food? If you look at the back of the packets when it comes to things like chicken breast, basmati rice, fruit, vegetables, turkey breast, beef mince, steak, if you look at the ingredients, usually it will say 1 or 2 ingredients, that's it. Typically foods that are just got 1 or 2 ingredients usually are lower in calories because they're healthier and they're not being packed full of preservatives and other things to make it more tasty. So naturally, if you're eating foods like chicken breast, rice, turkey breast, eggs, fish, salmon, I've already said eggs, beef, fruit and vegetables in all of your meals, naturally it's going to be hard for you to gain weight, because most people can't eat a lot of it because it's super filling, so it keeps you full, and the calories that you are eating within that meal usually aren't that high. So now you know what sort of food you put in within each meal. Let's say you're eating 4 meals per day across a 7-day week. That's 28 meals. I would say if you want to eat out on the weekend, as a general rule of thumb, you want ideally, out of them 28 meals, you want to be eating 26, 27 of them meals to be healthy, lean protein, healthy carbs, fruit and vegetables. So 26 to 27 of them meals are really healthy stuff, and then you're giving yourself space to have 1 to 2 meals of whatever you want on the weekend. The key thing is though, this is where most people go wrong, is when you go out on the weekend and you have that 1 meal, guys let that 1 meal then turn into snacks when they get home, snacks the day after, and then a couple of extra meals here and there, and that's when the calories quickly amount and they end up gaining weight. So rule of thumb is 28 meals across a week if you're eating 4 meals a day, making sure 26 to 27 of the meals are healthy, minimally processed, 1 to 2 and 1 to 2 meals only over the weekend. So let's say you're going out Saturday night for some food. This is what I would do exactly on the Saturday itself to set your diet up so you can just enjoy a meal on the Saturday night of whatever you want without worrying about, oh, I can't track it, what food should I have? I need to make sure I get protein in. You can just eat the meal that you're having and relax. This is what I would do. On the Saturday night, I would set a goal of trying to hit your protein target before you go out for that evening meal. So task number 1 is hit your protein target before you go out. What I'd do next is I'd reduce all carbs and all fats in them meals. Because by reducing your carbs and fats in them meals, you're going to naturally save a lot more calories for that evening meal, which will naturally be higher in calories when you're just choosing what you want. So this could look like, let's say breakfast, it could be a protein shake with 2 scoops and then maybe some strawberries or blueberries. Or it could be 200 grams of Phage yogurt with a scoop of protein in. I really like to do that with some fruit in there for your breakfast. Lunch could be a really large chicken breast with some Nando's sauce or something, with loads of salad or loads of vegetables. So your carbs, got some carbs in there, but it's minimal. I always say no one ever got fat eating salad or veg. So that could be lunch. And then in the afternoon, around 3 o'clock, before you go out in the evening, another protein shake with 2 scoops, maybe a little bit of fruit next to it. By doing that, you've already hit a decent amount of protein. And then for your evening meal, you haven't had any carbs or fats for that day. So you've got more calories to eat in that evening meal. And then when you go out, honestly, I just have 1 meal of what you want. I did this last year, again, picture on the screen here. Each weekend I had a pizza, maybe I had a burger. Sometimes I had something a little bit healthier, maybe like steak and chips. But I carried on losing weight every single week because the meals in and around that 1 meal were bang on. But there's a caveat to this, right? When I say 1 meal in the evening, That doesn't include things like going to the Chinese buffet and having like 5 plates, because that isn't one meal, that's 5 meals. So just a standard meal of what you'd normally have at a restaurant. Now, again, the reason why this works is because during the week, you're eating really healthy foods that are minimally processed. On the Saturday itself, you're still hitting your protein target, but you're not having carbs and fats. So that one meal is not going to outdo all of the work that you've put in that week, but you do need to make sure you're making room for that meal during the week by doing these things I've just mentioned. Where most guys go wrong is they'll have too many meals during the week that have just got too many calories, it's too much junk food. So they think the Saturday night's the problem, but really it isn't. It's all the meals in and around that Saturday that's also contributing to the problem, to why you're not getting leaner. Now, also the other thing that guys struggle with is they have the one meal, they think, oh, I fucked it up, I've failed, feel disappointed in themselves, and then they just think to themselves, you know what, I'll start again Monday. And then they just start eating more snacks throughout the night, more junk throughout the night, more junk the next day. Start fresh Monday, 100% perfect. That's the issue. You want to avoid that sort of thinking. So let's say you do fall in that trap where you do have a meal out on the weekend and you start feeling guilty or disappointed. This is what I want you to try and think. Imagine if your best friend or your partner did exactly what you just did. They spot on all week, they had the meal out that they planned to have out, they enjoyed it, but then afterwards they started to feel guilty. And afterwards they started to say, you know what, I fucked it up, I'm just gonna start again Monday, I might as well just carry on eating shit. What would you say to that person in that moment in time? You'd probably say something across the lines of, one meal doesn't matter, and you also planned for it, so it's all right, crack on as normal. So that's the type of a mental approach I'd like you to take with it. So guys, that is episode 5 of the 6-part mini series on how to drop 20 pounds of body fat, build lean muscle so you can feel more confident in your clothes. I hope you liked it. If you did like it, drop us a like, drop us a subscribe, and in the next video, I'll be showing you how to maintain your results for life that feels like cruise control and it doesn't feel like loads of effort. See you in the next video.